Thank our councillor candidates for both running in the municipal election and for being here with us today. We'll be hearing from Districts 3, 5, and 6 today. District 3 is located in Dartmouth, southeastern passage, with current councillor Bill Karsten. District 5, located in Dartmouth Centre, whose current councillor Sam Austin. And District 6, located in Harbourview, Burnside, Dartmouth East, current councillor Tony Mancini. I did want to mention that there's a council meeting today, so candidates Sam Austin and Tony Mancini are not able to participate, but we'll answer any questions that we gave them or that you submit after the event. The Halifax Chamber of Commerce appreciates the time and effort that's required to run and become a councillor in Halifax without question. And I also want to thank all our viewers. We hope that you're able to gain some valuable insights into your district councillors and ask questions that are relevant to you. Given the restrictions due to COVID-19, when we thought about these webinars, we were unsure whether candidates would be able to canvass through their district and felt that they might lose some of the potential personal touch of traditional campaigning, which is really our thought process behind holding some of these webinars. The Halifax Chamber of Commerce knows how important the role of the municipality is to the success of our business community, and that it's directly linked to the importance of our councillors and the decisions they make. We wanted to ensure our members and the community could hear from Here we go. Can everyone hear me okay? I was muted there for a moment. Thank you. For those who don't know, the overall goal of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce is to create value and prosperity for over our 1,700 member organizations. Through our 2019-2023 strategic plan, we're providing the services businesses need, hosting virtual and in-person events that will help them learn, and are advocating for the conditions in the economy that enhance their prosperity. Our two task forces, fostering private sector growth and accessing a skilled workforce, are currently working towards goals that aid in our members' prosperity and economic growth of the municipality. We usually host more than 100 events each year, which focus on the areas mentioned above. Our signature and annual events often feature local entrepreneurs and immigrants, post-secondary institutions, and prestigious business organizations. Each year, we provide our members the opportunity to hear the state of the municipality and province during luncheons and celebrate their successes at our business awards. As I mentioned, the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors is sponsoring this series of Meet Your Candidates webinars, and we'd again like to really say a big thank you to them for supporting this idea. I'd like to pass it over to the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, our friend Chris Peters, now to welcome the crowd and say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with everyone. Those who don't know me, my name is Chris Peters. I am a realtor on 10 years. I'm also currently the president of the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors. The Nova Scotia Association of Realtors is very pleased to sponsor this series of Meet Your Candidate events. NSAR represents over 1,600 salespeople and brokers across the province. We are the voice of real estate in Nova Scotia. Realtors are the ambassadors of our community and often one of the first points of contact that newcomers have to Nova Scotia. We know the communities we serve, from the schools and recreation centers to the service providers and commute times. We are your trusted guides. Realtors connect home buyers to potential cost savings and government programs such as the First-Time Home Buyers Incentive. And realtors play a key role in working with our elected officials to strengthen our housing markets. Realtors are also a key component of the local economy. In 2019, the average housing transaction through the NSAR MLS system generated an estimated $47,600 in spin-off spending, totaling over $586 million in spin-off spending in just 2019. In 2019, the MLS resale housing activity created an estimated 4,400 jobs in Nova Scotia. The real estate industry is proud to be such a major contributor to our vibrant Nova Scotian communities. But as you all know, housing has been in the news quite a bit these last several months throughout Nova Scotia and throughout Canada. Here in HRM, we are at inventory level lows that we haven't seen for both total inventory and our vacancy rates. Without housing, our communities will suffer. Housing is a spectrum, from community and social housing to new builds. realtors believe everyone should have a place to call home. That's why we're so pleased to participate in this series of discussions to help shape how our communities and our municipalities move forward. Every person on this call has the opportunity to work together to make housing more affordable. From speeding up development permits to creating more rental spaces and encouraging backyard and secondary suites. We can all play a part in moving forward to better build communities together. I want to thank the Halifax Chamber for this opportunity to sponsor today's event. And of course, I want to give a big thank you to all of our candidates who've taken time out of your personal schedules and made personal life sacrifices to put themselves forward in running for this election. A special shout out to all my counselors or candidates from District 3 who I had this similar conversations with just a couple of days ago. But Patrick, on that note, I'm going to throw it back to you. Or Kent, rather. Patrick was earlier.
Thanks, Chris. Very much appreciated and very well said. And I'll be very surprised if we don't hear a little bit more about affordable housing in this next 45 minutes or so. So on that note, let's get on to what we're all here for. So from a process standpoint, each candidate will have exactly 3 minutes now to introduce themselves and give a few reasons for running, and then we'll get into questions. So for those that are watching, when the candidate starts to speak, you'll notice that their picture will fill half the frame, as will a clock. You can modify that by going to gallery view or speaker view on your screen, or you can go down next to the clock, the line that separates the clock and the picture, and shrink the clock if you want to make the view plane bigger for the candidate. Okay. So our questions post that event will be a combination of those we've previously sent our candidates and some that will be asked during the event. So again, if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll monitor that and we'll do our best to get to as many questions as we can once the counselors have had or the candidates have had a chance to speak. At that point, candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question, and we'll allow and we'll rotate through each question through each candidate. Okay. So let's start off with candidate Clinton Devoe. Please unmute and introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear me clearly? Can you hear me?
Yes, good.
Excellent, very good. So my name is Clinton Devoe. I'm a resident of Cal Bay here in District 3. I'm 47 years old. I'm a businessman, entrepreneur. I've worked in the private sector for most of my life. I have done some work with the provincial and federal governments of various political stripes in the past. I have an international distributorship that makes marine-related workwear, and we make it here in Halifax. My distributorship covers New Zealand, Australia, the Republic of Ireland, the United Kingdom, the East Coast, Pacific Coast, and Gulf Coast of the United States, as well as Atlantic Canada and British Columbia. I'm married to Sue, and we have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter, both teenagers. And I decided to put my name forward because I want to make a difference in our community. I'm deeply concerned with issues related to safety, with issues related to economic development, and there's some other issues which we'll touch on later today. So that gives you sort of a description of who I am. I'm also a bilingual Acadian, and I'm looking forward to the rest of this campaign and hearing what everyone else has to say.
Great.
Oh, and actually one last thing I'd like to say. I'd like everyone who's watching this to please check out my website. It's Clinton for District 3, the numeral 3.com. And I've been posting 59-second videos on policy ideas and subject that residents have told me are important in this campaign.
Great, Clinton. Thank you very much, and well under time, which is much appreciated. And I should just give fair warning to all the candidates that that clock is there for that specific purpose, just to keep us on time. Certainly not to cut anyone off, but when it does hit 3 minutes, your time will end, and you will be muted. So thanks for being considerate. Okay, George Mambalu, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but George, we'll go to you next. And please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I would like to thank all of you, the organizers of the webinar, for offering us candidates your platform to discuss our plans and ideas for our districts. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of my fellow candidates. I have lived in District 3 for 25 years, since 1995. I'm blessed with 4 children and 2 young grandchildren. I am an electrical engineer by profession, and I have taught many courses in engineering and engineering economics at Acadia University, Dalhousie University, and St. Mary's University, spanning over 27 years. I've also worked as a research consultant for over 30 years, consulting in small business development, empowerment, community empowerment, and labor market. I believe our neighborhoods, schools, roads, parks, and trails must be adequately maintained and improved on a regular basis. We must make provisions to attract and sustain small businesses in our various districts. We must pursue policies that provide opportunities for members of our various districts, policies that generate economic activities that support new and established local businesses. We must empower our community to be part of the decision-making process, engage our communities in the affairs of the municipality, and make their voices heard in the business of HRM. We must recognize the diversity within our community boundaries and make sure all voices are heard in the decision-making process. We must make sure our community is safe, comfortable. Calming traffic is a very important aspect of that. Improving road safety, crosswalks, transportation, affordable housing, and inclusion. We must control spending. If necessary, spend smartly. We must be transparent, compassionate, caring, and instill trust. These are the reasons why I'm running. Thank you.
George, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Okay, moving on to Lloyd Jackson. Again, Lloyd, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Lloyd Jackson. I'm a candidate in District 3 for councillor. I've lived in Eastern Passage with my wife Glenys for over 35 years. We have brought both our daughters up here in Eastern Passage, and now our grandchildren are starting school here in Eastern Passage. I'm a retired military officer. I did 36 years in the Canadian Armed Forces. My last 4 were with the military police. I have tours in Sierra Leone, Sudan. I spent a year on the Golan Heights. I have been to Afghanistan twice, and I've learned how to negotiate through the UN or for the UN on numerous occasions. I got involved with this because of my children and my grandchildren, because I believe that there's a lot of issues in our communities that we need to address. And one of the first and foremost, and one I hear throughout our district, is the speed of vehicles throughout our neighborhoods. There are things that can be done, and HRM is now in the process of doing traffic calming, which I feel is very important. And I will work to continue that effort to ensure that our streets become safer for our kids and for everybody involved. I've been involved with many things as a volunteer in my community. I am still volunteering. I am a trustee at an organization called the Eastern Lodge 8686. I coach varsity boys basketball, and I'm a member of the Royal Canadian Legion. So I am active in my community today, and I do feel that I have an understanding from talking to different people as a volunteer what their concerns are in our district. And as was mentioned earlier, certainly sidewalk and crosswalk safety has been brought up on numerous occasions. So there is a common thread. While District 3 is a very large district, there are common threads and common concerns and things which we can do to ensure that the citizens of our district are being well represented. I would like the opportunity to represent everyone and be everyone's counselor and everyone's voice on council, understanding that I'll have to build relationships with other counselors and city staff to get things done. My website is www.electloyd.ca, and I have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, Lloyd Jackson for District 3 HRM. Thank you for your time this afternoon, and I look forward to the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, Lloyd. Much appreciated. Okay, next in line, Becky Kent. Please unmute yourself, Becky, and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just want to say thank you to the Chamber and to NSAR for allowing this opportunity for each of the candidates today. It's an important piece of this, and I appreciate that you recognize the COVID-19 implications of an election. This is my 5th election, and it's an unusual one, I have to say. I am originally from Shelburne, grew up in a small town, have lived many years since going to university at St. Mary's here in the Halifax area. I have lived in Eastern Passage for more than 35 years, raising my 3 boys and living in very much engaged in my community. My career started in a corporate world with Nova Scotia Power. Then I left to raise my children, and during that time I was very active in the community, and I was approached 3 times to consider politics, and by the time I got around to it, I was successful in being elected at council from 2004 to 2007, and then I left there at the will of the community to be a member of the legislature as MLA for Cole Harbour and Eastern Passage, and from 2007 until 2013. And that, along with, since leaving there, I have been engaged with not-for-profit organizations as executive directors related to seniors and to women experiencing violence around the province. I own and operate a business with my husband, a small trucking company. I'm also an entrepreneur in a cottage industry, in leather work, and I've also owned and operated in an early childhood education center. So my experience really runs a full gamut, I think, of knowledge and leadership opportunities that I have to offer the community. I'm the only candidate as a woman. I'm the only candidate in District 3 that has that level of 2 levels of government experience and in leadership. I am particularly pleased to bring my skill set and my experience and certainly my passion back to the political table. I believe strongly it's what I'm meant to do. It's what I naturally do, which is advocate and champion and problem solve, motivate, and inspire. So it's a good fit for me, and I'm willing to see if the community wants it again. I had a successful career with well-respected reputation. And I'm hoping people will see that as a viable option, particularly now. It's a tough time to be in politics, and it's a tough time in the economy to have a brand new start at council. So I hope people will see that as an ability for the councillor through me to just hit the ground running and get involved quickly. There is no doubt in my mind that council has a lot to address, and my particular priorities are the economy and jobs, housing and homelessness, traffic concerns, and empowering women and girls, and along with ending racism in our communities.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Becky. Well said. Thank you. Okay, that was our candidates today from District 3. Moving on to District 5. Mitch Mcintyre, if you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today in regards to our topics. My name is Mitch Mcintyre. I'm a long resident of Dartmouth. My father was in the armed forces, so our family was brought up in Wallside, Shannon Park area, where I went to elementary school and John Martin Junior High. I always had a passionate to be a police officer as a young man, and that came true in 1980 when I joined the Dartmouth City Police. As a Dartmouth City Police officer, obviously you know different offices that you can work in and go through. I had the opportunity to work traffic division, so I'm well knowledged on traffic authority. I spent a lot of years in the drug section. I used to tell people my job was kicking doors down, and I did that very well. I've also had an opportunity to do peacekeeping. I was a UN peacekeeper in Kosovo when Kosovo at the time was a hotspot. While there, I became the commander, which is the chief of police, as if you don't know what a commander is over there. And where I spent the 9 months, 8 months of it was commanding a city as large as Dartmouth. And various roles and various topics would always come up. And my station, and I refer to it as my station because I was commander, I ended up being slated out of 45 police stations. Mine was rated #1 for best and efficient station, all of Kosovo. I love Dartmouth. I've worked and played and in Dartmouth most of my life. And some of the things I've been seeing lately, in the last few years, of maybe the identity of Dartmouth disappearing, I was discouraged, and so I threw my name into the hat, and that's why you see me here today, run against one other person. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. Very much appreciated. Moving on to District 6, Douglas Day, would you please unmute yourself and introduce yourself? You're still muted, Douglas.
Can
There
you
we
hear
go.
me now?
There we go.
Okay. I didn't hear you at first. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
My name's Douglas. I'm running for District 6 for councillor, and I hope to see a change up in here in the district. Right now, I really don't see much of a change, but it'd be nice to have a change in the old standing council. They didn't really do much of a change for this district, so I'm in for a change, and that's what we really need is a change here. So I hope people votes the right person on election day.
Okay, is that good, Douglas? Thank you very much. Appreciate your input. And certainly last but not least, from District 6, Ibrahim Mana, please unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, thank you for the opportunity for you guys having this session here with the Halifax Chamber and all the members and all the candidates that are viewing as well. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Abraham Mana. I live here in Dartmouth in District 6. I've been in the community over 25 years. I immigrated from Jordan. I studied in John McNeil. I went to NSCC as business administration, and I got a family of 3. I also own a company in which I do hire a lot of people from immigrants, diversity, pretty much all walks of earth. I also hire people from the ICE and immigration people, and as well. I just want to introduce myself. I have lived studied, worked, and raised family here. I'm bilingual and proud to be a citizen of the best country in the world. Canada, my goal is to build and maintain a community that everyone can be proud of. As a councillor, I will work hard to fight for affordable housing, community organization, and business development. I will be the voice for the people and the community. My experience running as a successful renovation construction company for over a decade will prove to be valuable in helping our community grow. Council needs someone who understands what it takes to get things done. Someone who can work with the budgets and can come over challenges and obstacles. Someone who is already involved with the community is understanding what it takes to get things done. Always be mindful that I am there to serve the people who elect me, to listen and to consult, to keep you involved at the same time. I will be my own person, a leader, not a follower. As a proud Dartmouth, we want to maintain our identity. You can count on me to keep Dartmouth in the forefront. And with your support, I want to help bring Dartmouth into the spotlight. And I just want to add a couple things where I was talking, a lot of people talking about as well the speed in the area. Like we would need to get either speed bumps in here, or we got to take a look, see what's the problem. It's a major problem in the city right now in my districts and others about speeding. So we want to, this is something I really want to fight up. And the other things there that we have here in Dartmouth East and very poorly to.
Sorry, Ibrahim. you just went over time. I'm sure we'll have more time to continue that discussion as we go through the rest of the session. So again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for those great intros. We're going to let Nova Scotia Association of Realtors kick off the questioning, the question and answer section. Again, I'd encourage people listening to submit any extra questions they may have onto the chat or Q&A function. So I'll pass it over to Chris to start the question session.
Thank you, Kent. And again, thank you to each of our candidates. You clearly are all very passionate about your districts. I look forward to hearing your response to the question that I have here on behalf of realtors of the province of Nova Scotia. Purchase and rental housing supplies are near historic lows in Nova Scotia. Housing is essential to our communities and our businesses. How will you ensure there is a healthy housing mix that includes the entire spectrum from community housing, rental, and home ownership? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. A great question to start. And I'm going to, like I said, I'll jump around a little bit, but I think we'll start at the top. And Clinton, if you want to take a crack at an answer for that one, again, you'll have a minute to do so. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you for that question. So first of all, I believe that we desperately need to speed up approval, permits, the inspection processes, in order to encourage more community, family developments. I also believe that this will help us gain more supply, which in turn will cause prices to become more competitive, and that will help out with home ownership and make home ownership easier. I also believe as well that we should be encouraging in-law suites under the right circumstances, so that there's no concerns around safety and fire and those kinds of issues. I also strongly believe that the city of Halifax needs more condo tower development, and I also believe that we need less height restrictions.
Again. Okay, there we go. Sorry, Clinton, sorry about that. You just went over the minute, so we're going to have to try and stay on our timeline. Again, I'd ask you guys just to keep a fairly close watch on the clock. As well, I won't repeat the question each time in the interest of time, but if you look under the chat, each question that I ask will be typed into the chat, so you can, prior to me getting to you, you can review the question again. I will repeat it likely a few times as we go through. So on that same question, George, from our friend Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I agree with the question that our major concern here in Halifax and Nova Scotia is increasing homelessness. And like Clinton proposed, I agree that fast-tracking approval of permits for construction of new homes will help to fast-track things. Also, the municipality could work with the provincial government to include measures like density bonuses. So if they can include density bonuses in the construction, then that will help the developers to include density and inclusion zoning as well. Because if you have inclusion zoning, it means that you can have residential mixed area with people at different income levels. So that could help to increase the availability of homelessness and reduce it. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Very much on time. Appreciate it. So before I go to the next candidate, I'll repeat the question one more time. So again, from Chris, purchase and rental housing supplies are near historic lows in Nova Scotia. Housing is essential to our communities and our businesses. How will you ensure there is a healthy housing mix that includes the entire spectrum from community housing, rental, and home ownership? So Lloyd, if you want to take a crack at that, it'd be much appreciated.
Thank you. I believe the HRM should be a part of all the voices that are building and planning for our development. We should be there with the Housing Nova Scotia, with the Nova Scotia Office of Cooperative Housing. It's a Federation of Canada. And here we have an organization, the Urban Development Institute, Nova Scotia, that we can work with. So I think there are ways that we can find solutions and build a plan to move forward to provide affordable housing and make sure that there is enough and adequate housing here in Halifax. An idea, we can look at other municipalities in Kingston, Ontario. Kingston, Ontario has the Municipal Nonprofit Housing Corporation. They maintain and operate 397 apartments and townhouses, which provide affordable housing. So there are ways that we can look outside of the box, outside of HRM, and there are certainly organizations within HRM that we can be supportive of and work with to build the plan for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Right on the dot. Much appreciated. Okay, Becky, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a question that could take us hours, actually. There's so much to talk about. In a short and concise way, I believe strongly that the processes at municipality need to be strengthened around development opportunities. We need to be quicker and more able to get a process through for developers, but also for the end game, which is to get these housing and housing options available. There's no question that development has been improved, I believe, in the efforts that council has made in secondary suites within the homes. We need to hold developers accountable as well for the affordable housing units that they offer. They offer them at the beginning, and then when someone moves out, then they become regular stock. We need to maintain those spaces so that they continue to always be an affordable option. We have so many people who are trying to start up with housing, whether it's rental and all those to seniors who want to, downsize. So we've got to do something.
Thank you, Becky. Great timing as well. Much appreciated. Okay, Mitch, over to you.
I think we all agree with one thing is yes, we need new housing, apartments, condos, but it's got to fit for your neighborhood. It's one of these things that, we have a lot of, as Clinton mentioned, holdups on permits and trying to get these buildings built. We have to identify properties where this these buildings and homes can be built all through HRM. I'd like to work with a number of these developers that want to build housing, apartment buildings, towers, but it has to fit for your neighborhood. We have a broad area of areas that are a little different land side of structures, and we all have to be accountable for that.
Great, Mitch. Thank you very much. Douglas, over to you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. How I see with affordable housing, there's way too many condos and apartments people really can't afford, and the people what's homeless, they're actually living on the street when they couldn't build houses what affordable for people what can afford it. For one example, I checked into it. There's one place in Northview Apartments. I looked at the rents for someone, and actually charging more rent for a bachelor apartment than a one-bedroom apartment, and that shouldn't be. but overall, they should be building houses what people can afford, not they can afford.
Great, Douglas. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, Ibrahim.
Yes, thank you. All right. So the question, what I would do, I do like developments as well, like we do build homes and so on. But one thing, what I would really like to see, all these new buildings are going up. I think we should have a room at least, agree with some developers, at least 20% of what they're building, either a floor or two out of that for affordable housing. That way we could at least tilt the balance of what's going on in the city where there's lots of homelessness. Affordable housing as well, it's kind of not there right now because everything's just going up. Units from $600, $750 are going up to $1,100 and plus. So I would really like to sit with the developers, as Mitch says, and to come to agreement to see what we could do for some of the units that we could bring down in prices, at least maybe 20% or something if they want to build any higher rises.
Great, Abraham. Thank you very much for that response. So moving on to the next round of questions that coming from me and from the audience. And this one, somewhat of a selfish one, being the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. COVID-19 has had a great impact on our business community. How do you plan on supporting our businesses as we continue to live with the virus for an indefinite period of time? So again, I'll jump around a little bit, and maybe this time, Becky, I'll let you start us off.
Thank you. This is a great question. I appreciate you asking it. COVID-19 really has wreaked havoc not only on our families who have potentially lost jobs or are caring for loved ones and having to rearrange their schedules, and they're working from home, and they're in some cases have been able to salvage their business. I've been lucky in our company, we were able to salvage the businesses and salvage the jobs. But I was one of the lucky ones. We were one of the lucky ones in transportation. I believe strongly that whatever we do at council, we have to do in recognition and collaboration with the other levels of government. All three levels of government are going to be rebuilding their economic engine within it, and they cannot hold any one particular layer of society to the task to help with that. They need to really spread things out. I expect that there would be some consideration of tax reform. I'd be open to having those kinds of conversations. I'd be open to, but most importantly, I will be a strong voice that no one layer of the society should have all of the burden.
Great, thank you, Becky. Mitch, same question for you.
Are you there?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. You know, tax breaks for all businesses and allowing them to have some time to pay their taxes might be an option, with no interest. Letting bars and restaurants down Dartmouth or in other locations leave the patios out all year round, sidewalks all year round. Close off Portland Street, which I'd like to see, and from King to Alderney, to allow both sides of the street in order to allow the merchants to make some money when COVID obviously 19 is here. Work with other councillors and meet, you know, same business to seek with other means of helping. You know, maybe someone else has a better option or a better answer to some of the questions that are required to help other business people make it through this COVID-19.
Great, Mitch. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Lloyd.
Well, I believe that we should be working with all levels of government, federal and provincial, as they help out our businesses and make sure that our constituents are aware of the different programs that are available to them. I do believe, like Mitch said, that there's an opportunity here for us to do things and initiatives that we can use to help our businesses, but we can also work with our landlords and work with businesses to make sure that you know, people who are falling behind in their rent or whatever are able to work through that. I believe that we can look at deferred or reduced taxes. I mean, we're all going to have to make sure that we have money to operate, but that shouldn't come on the backs of our businesses. So I'm a full supporter of all our businesses, small and large, and I think that there are initiatives that we can do and to make sure that all our small business people and our business people are aware of the different programs that are available out there through the federal, provincial, and municipal government. Thanks.
Thank you, Lloyd. Ibrahim, would you like to answer that same question? Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Hi. As a business owner, actually, yes. What I would really like to do, a lot of obviously the small businesses are the engine of this economy. All the small engines compared like to the bigger, huge companies that we have here. So what I would like to do actually is to try see about break in property tax for all businesses that they have, and as well to be able to at least defer or at least to get the small business rental down, or at least to be cut off for a couple months. At least if the landlord could actually do that, at least we'd give them a break on the property tax, and the small businesses could actually get help with the rental as well, hopefully by us, by the city and municipality. Because obviously right now, every small business that goes down, that's a big loss, which they are the engine of our economy here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Before I go to the next candidate, I'll just quickly repeat the question. COVID-19 has had a great impact on our business community. How do you plan on supporting our businesses as we continue to live with the virus for an indefinite period of time? Douglas, would you like to? Oh, you're muted, Douglas. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Thank you for that question. What I'd like to see is with small businesses, so people are laid off from COVID-19, which I'm one of the people laid off from work for about 7 months now. Small businesses and restaurants, why don't we lower the costs so people who are laid off can afford to go to those places?
Oh, thank you, Douglas. Sorry about that. I was muted. Thank you. Clinton, over to you.
We need to keep our commercial and industrial property tax rates competitive. We don't need to be increasing taxes. We're competing in a global community in the face of COVID-19. We need property tax deferment, interest-free until we have the pandemic under control. The city needs to work more with Nova Scotia Business Inc. in order to help drive greater exports from our city. The city needs to start discussions when the border eventually opens up with the feds and the provinces to make the East-West Highway a reality. That's the connection points in Woburn, Quebec, and Calais in the US state of Maine. It would reduce the drive time from Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa by 3.5 hours, making transportation cheaper and helping us become more competitive and open in a global economy.
Great, Clinton. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, George.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I believe that COVID have created a different kind of normal for us, including people in the business. This is not the time for businesses to be declaring profits and surplus and paying bonuses to their CEOs. This is not the time. This is the time of austerities. This is the time we have to tighten our belts. So the government have very few options to help businesses at this time. Those options are either lowering taxes for them and deferring taxes if it is possible, so they can provide relief in terms of tax relief and deferring those taxes. However, I believe that businesses should not profit at this time. So the government should engage them, including the municipality, should engage the business community to come up with a plan that is feasible for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Right on the button. Okay, thanks for that first round of questions. So moving on to the second question. And some of you touched on this, but I'd like you to expand a little bit. The municipality prior to COVID-19 was working towards commercial tax reform. Do you believe our commercial tax system needs to be amended? And if so, how would you like to do so? So again, we'll jump around a little bit. Maybe this time we'll start where we just stopped. So George, if you want to start the answers on this round. You're on mute, George. Sorry. Caught you by surprise.
Yeah, okay. So I believe our commercial tax system needs to be reformed and amended. Halifax has the third highest commercial property tax rate in the country, other than Quebec City and Montreal. Halifax is number 3. So lowering the rate of tax would help to inspire new commercial investment in the province, expand our commercial tax base, and attract more businesses. This initiative will create the potential to offset expected revenue losses resulting from lowering the taxes. Because what we do here is you lower the tax base, you lower the tax rate and increase your tax base. So I believe that our commercial taxes need to be amended. Thank you.
Thank you for that, George. Much appreciated. Lloyd, let's jump to you.
So good afternoon. Yes, I believe that from speaking with some of our local business owners that we have a need to reform our commercial tax base. We have to remember that Halifax is competing on the global stage. And if we're going to compete on the global stage, we have to make it conducive to companies moving here and setting up their businesses and hiring our people. So there'll be things that we can do that should be done to make sure that we are competitive, not only just here in Nova Scotia, but on a global stage. I think there are organizations like the Chamber of Commerce and others that can have input into what our needs are and what they believe we should do to make sure that we are that competitive team going forward in the future. The province and the federal government will play a role in this, but we need to take the lead and look after our own business and make sure that Halifax is competitive by our commercial tax rate on the international market. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Mitch, would you like to take a crack at that one? Sorry, Mitch, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. I thought that question was a little unfair because of obviously not being in the office with counselors and stuff. But I understand that there is a committee, and if I'm not mistaken, David Hensby was on that committee. Again, it's hard to topic because of COVID-19, but I think that the rates should be open so we can make sure that businesses survive until we know what's going on with this virus. It's affected all of the world, and there's no place. And I believe that we have to leave it open in order to manage our businesses that are trying to survive through this pandemic.
Great, Mitch. Thank you very much. So again, sort of midway through this one, I know there's a lot going on, so I'll repeat the question for the remaining candidates. The municipality prior to COVID-19 was working towards commercial tax reform. Do you believe our commercial tax system needs to be amended? And if so, how would you like to do so? Ibrahim, I'll flip it over to you.
Yes, I do believe that actually our commercial rates should to be reformed. Actually, I do believe that we should have our taxes drop down, even a couple of percentages down, which will kind of inspire and create more opportunities for a lot of businesses to even open up here in Atlantic Canada. And as well, one of the other things I would really like to see is when they did drop here the HST down from a 15% to a 13%, where I know there was a lot of purchases and a lot of people will start. The 2% or so does make a big difference, especially when you're buying big purchases or in businesses trying to open up. I think I'm definitely would like to see a type of reform to drop down rates and able to keep our new companies or existing companies to actually to grow even better in Atlantic Canada. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
No problem.
Douglas, would you like to take a crack at that question? Thank you.
The phone keeps muting, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, thank you. How I like to see, because right now commercial businesses are running quite high with taxes, and for people to afford all that, they should lower it down like lower it like 5% lower. Right now, everything's way too expensive, and that's my opinion. They should lower it like 5% cheaper rates than what it is now.
Great, thank you very much, Douglas. Becky, would you like to take a run, please?
Thank you. Yes, I can unequivocally say that I'm in favor of some tax reform right now. I think now more than ever in society, this has to happen. I believe strongly that it has to be in consultation and collaboration with the other two levels of government, because whatever they do will affect what we do, et cetera, et cetera. I believe strongly that there needs to be a commercial tax rate lowering for now, and I don't know how long that needs to last, but we need to recognize that in order to have our businesses survive, they need support. We have to have an ongoing effort to promote Halifax as open for business. Open for business means that we have to have viable businesses when we do attract those investors or stakeholders who will take advantage of that business. They need to know that business is secure and stable. One of the ways that I'd like to see it is to put more efforts into engaging with the businesses that have not survived COVID-19 or at risk of falling down now, and lift them up.
Great, thank you, Becky. And Clinton.
I believe that we need lower commercial property tax rates. As a business person and a businessman, it's a high priority issue for me. We also need fewer service fees in order to help people start more local businesses and create more local jobs, because that is the backbone of our economy. The other reason we need lower taxes is so that we can take advantage of CETA, the Canadian-European Trade Agreement. I was involved in some negotiations for that agreement with the Government of Canada. And we need to foster better relations with the Canada-New England Business Council in order to help us improve our export potential here in the city. So yes, I believe we need commercial tax reform. And what that means is we need lower commercial and industrial property tax rates. And before I finish, to the very first question that we talked about affordable housing, we can use the federal municipal program that was introduced to look at that as well.
Great, Clinton. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all your answers to that question again. Okay, so moving on to the next question. How will you ensure not just only diversity in your staff reports and projects, but also inclusive feedback and collaboration if you make it to council? So we'll start with Mitch, if that's okay. Oh, you're still on mute. And if you need a minute, Mitch, I can jump to someone else.
And do you mind repeating that question? I was trying to read one of the Q&A questions and I missed it.
Nope, no problem. So how will you ensure not just only diversity in your staff reports and projects, but also inclusive feedback and collaboration? So again, Mitch, if you're okay with that, then we'll kick off with you. And you're on mute. Sorry, Mitch. Okay, let's jump for a second. We'll come back to Mitch. Clinton, are you okay taking a run at that one?
Yes, I am. So I believe that we need our city community planning and committee work that we do to actually look and represent who we are as a city population. So I believe that we need to embrace social media. We need to embrace live stream video technology like we're doing right here, right now, in order to bring in community voices and to bring as many people into that discussion as possible. Most people have a smartphone with an internet connection, and those who don't can usually find access at a public library where there's internet connections. So we need to embrace technology and innovation to actually become an innovation hub.
Great. Thank you, Clinton. Mitch, are you okay to go? Sorry, you're still on mute.
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Okay, understanding the importance of diversity in the workplace, we benefit the employees, a wide range, of individuals, various gender, age, religion, race, and culture. My wife is half Lebanese. My stepson's gay. My children have a strong indigenous bloodline. From my first wife. My wife works for ISAN, Immigrants Association Nova Scotia. So I do have a lot of respect for diversity. As a councillor, I would move to all job postings stating that making diversity our workforce priority and engaging all people to apply.
Great, Mitch. Thank you very much for that. Douglas, over to you.
Can you go to somebody else first, sir?
Certainly, no problem at all. Ibrahim.
Yes. You good? Can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
All right, good. Yes, as a diversity, as you know, I owned a company and I always hired diversity, and I also got a lot of people, new immigrants from the ISIN, the immigration as well. I would really like to kind of keep this as well, to keep a lot of people engaged, a lot of diversity into any public workplaces. I would like to kind of sit in any workshops and down the road in the councillor meetings. I would like to get everybody from all different walks of earth to be at those meetings to kind of see exactly what type of either decisions that we are trying to make to get them involved in them. So I am a very strong believer of keeping diversity in in any of the committees or any of the meetings or any developments that we are going to approach or bring even Nova Scotia to the next level. Because we're not just saying one group, we're saying every other group or line that we could actually make Nova Scotia the best of immigrants. And That's it.
Great, Abraham. Thank you very much. Becky.
Thank you very much. This is a really important question, and I think that staff have done an average job at engagement. That it's often directed specifically at resident by resident by resident. I think that we, on occasion, they've done some group engagement, but they have to do more of that. Within our society, there are so many groups and associations and service clubs that are experts within their own membership and first voices that we are not engaging with. We need to, I think, direct staff with some form of parameters, a minimum standards of which they have to engage with. We have so many organizations, LGBTQ organizations, ISONs, Black and Indigenous communities, women's organization. As a woman, I can tell you for sure that even though they are engaged with the agencies and organizations out there are very much experts. They have that knowledge, but they're not taken as seriously as they should be. I think that has to change, and now.
Great, Becky. Thank you very much. Lloyd.
Halifax is the hub of Atlantic Canada. People come here from all parts of Atlantic Canada to work, to go to school, and to find their dream. We can work with the different levels of government, federal government, the provincial government, and make sure that we are representing our community in all of what we do. We are also very fortunate here in Halifax to have a number of universities that can help us with this. And there are also all kinds of other experts and community groups that can help us ensure that their concerns and representation is happening at City Council and within the HRM. It's not something that it's a one or standalone of. It's something that in 2020 is very real, and we want our city to be competitive. And in order to be competitive, we have to be inclusive. We need to do all our business in an open and transparent fashion so that everybody feels that they're a part of the community. So that would be what I would do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Lloyd. George. I'm guessing you're on mute.
Yeah, I'll mute myself. Thank you.
No
I
problem.
think the question is a very interesting one. Very, very interesting, because I've gone around talking to people. Just take this example. Not many residents knew about HRM election. Not many knew about it. And when you knock on their door, talk to them, they don't know anything. They don't even know when the vote is taking place. Some people will say, oh, I'm watching American election. I don't even know what is happening in my backyard. That's why I said we need to be inclusive. We need to bring everybody on board. We need to engage the community in the whole process. We are not engaging them. The staff members are writing reports. They need to talk to the community. Community have lost interest in the process. So in order to bring diversity, you must recognize the differences, first of all. So that's the key point. We need to accept that we have failed, and we have to find a new way to bring people in. Thank you.
Thank you for that, George. Much appreciated. Douglas, are you okay to answer that one?
I don't have any answer for that question at this time.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, just again, I mentioned at the beginning to keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A. So I'm going to go, I was going to go to a question from the chat, but they just disappeared. Okay, sorry, so here's a question coming in from the chat. And I'll give you a moment just to think about it as I read it, and then we'll pick a few folks to answer this question. So all of your responses about low-income housing came across to me as empty platitudes. It is self-evident that developers will not build low-income units unless there is money in it for them, or they are required by legislation to set aside some units for lower income. As councillor, do you agree that developers need to be forced to address this as part of their council planning submissions? So if someone feels very comfortable in answering that.
I'd like to answer.
Okay, Becky, if you'd want to jump in and start, that'd be great.
I did answer very quickly in the question in the chat room. That might have been why it changed. But as I said before, we could go on for hours on this, and absolutely, I absolutely think they have to be forced to. There has been a municipal mandate within planning and development submissions that did require and probably still do require a certain number of housing units, if in fact they're connected to a federal and provincial programs to support that. So there is money in it for them, and it's often the case. But what has been happening is that it's been, it only stays as an affordable housing unit until someone moves out of it, and that's just not okay. It has to stay there. Our taxpayers have invested in that particular developer and that particular development, and it has to remain so that it continues to be an affordable space for whoever needs it at that time. If someone is able to move out, that's a good news story. That means they've successfully built their life to a point where they can move forward. And we need to have that space open for the next one coming along.
Wonderful, thank you. Lloyd, I saw you had your hand up. Would you like to jump in on that question?
Yes. In my answer, I mentioned that we could work with organizations like the Urban Development Institute Nova Scotia. If you, because we were going to do this, I went in and I checked out, and that institution is there, and they plan with the landlords and they look at the needs. So it's a very real organization that's there to help. I also mentioned in my answer about the Kingston, Ontario, where the municipality has a nonprofit housing corporation that has 397 apartments and townhouses that it uses. That's one idea that we could bring here to Halifax. Maybe the city has to get more involved with that. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, when all these projects are coming forward, there has to be some kind of social conscience, being the good corporate citizen. Now, I don't want to tell you that the landlords need to lose money, because they don't. They won't. But we do need to work with the landlords and provide affordable housing. Here in Halifax, with the number of universities, we have university students all looking for places to live. We have homeless people. We have a number of social issues that need to be addressed by council, but we will not be able to do it in a vacuum, and there are lots of places and things out there that can help us. Thank you.
Great, Lloyd, thank you very much. George, did you have a comment to make on that one?
Yes. Yes, my comment there is, I don't think the municipality can force developers to do things they don't want to do, and it's not good for their own return on their investment, number one. So this is not socialism. I think what they could do is maybe tighten up some of the loopholes around and say, okay, there should be a density bonus. So if you are going to provide a 6-story building in a neighborhood where they may not have 6-story building, we can allow you to put a 6-story building there for an apartment, as long as you provide 50 units or 20 units of that for low-income people. So it's give and take. So the developer could decide to go along with that or not to go along with that. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Clinton, did you have an opinion?
I do. So I'm glad that question was asked, because I didn't get a chance to properly answer in the beginning. So affordable housing, although it's not a municipal mandate, it's a provincial mandate. The city can examine the recently announced federal municipal co-investment fund, where Halifax can partner with not-for-profit groups like Habitat for Humanity, for example, and the federal government to help create more affordable housing. The other thing that the city can also do is they can allow for more tower height, because that's been an issue for many years now, in exchange for a certain number of affordable housing units within those towers. And so that would be a win-win for everyone involved.
Great, Clinton. Thank you very much. Ibrahim, would you like to weigh in on that question?
Yeah, where I know a lot of them already covered on it, but yeah, one of my ideas was actually as well is if they do need to go high, they would have to determine or to have at least 1 or 2 of those floors to be for affordable housing. Because obviously right now, you know, before used to be there was a certain height in Nova Scotia where you cannot build the buildings. Now it's almost like the sky's almost, I don't want to say the sky's the limit, but I mean, we're seeing high rises pretty much every month. We're seeing new buildings going high rise. So if we do want to give these developers an approval on the development, I'm pretty sure that we could actually impose at least to have one or two these floors. They want to go higher, at least for affordable housing or seniors as well. So,
Great, thank you very much. Who did I miss there? Mitch, I'm sorry. Did you have an opinion on that question?
Well, you know, nobody gets into business to lose money. It's one of those things, but it's important to note that, you know, my understanding that the federal government was offering $1 billion to cities for developing. So the city would have to, or the municipality in this case, can go after some of that money to make these things happen. And I think it's on the heads of these builders to maybe step up and devote their times and have the city work with them in order to maybe give them tax breaks so they can have these affordable houses built. Identifying locations at HRM, you know, where these houses can be built is important, but they have to be built. I mean, we cannot have people on the streets, you know, and this is one of the key things that I don't like about not having that type of development done.
Great, thank you, Mitch, appreciate it. Douglas, did you have an opinion on that question? Oh, sorry, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I keep pressing mute. Affordable housing, with that question, that's a good question. There's a lot of low income people what really can't afford all these big houses, and we need to actually have cheaper rents for people with bigger families what can actually afford housing, and with that people can't. Where are they going to end up? They're going to end up living out on the streets, and there'll be more and more people homeless because the cost of housing is going way up, and they really can't afford that. So as my opinion as council, if I get elected, we should bring the cost way down so families can actually afford housing and not make houses so expensive for people to live in.
Thank you, Douglas. Appreciate that answer. Another question came in online, and Mitch, I appreciate you answering it online, but I think it's a good question to ask everybody. So like I said, I see you've answered it online, Mitch, but I'll give you another opportunity live to answer it. But this is really around living wage. And what is your stance on the city supporting calls to the province for a living wage for all Nova Scotians? Let's start with Lloyd.
Well, a living wage should be something that allows people who go to work to feel their role in society is important, and to be able to provide for themselves and their families without having to work 3 or 4 jobs to try and make ends meet. A living wage will be set through collaboration with the federal government and the provincial government. These are issues that the HRM will need to be at the table with the province and with the federal government when these decisions are being made, because our cost of living and a living wage are hand in glove. So we have to make sure that people are paid a fair wage, but yet, you know, we cannot pass on to contractors, as an example, this without some kind of mediation. So I think there's a lot the city can do, and there's things that we can do with our contracts, with our providers. But most importantly, this is an issue where we will have to sit with both the province and the federal government to ensure a living wage is adequate. Thanks.
Thank you, Lloyd. Becky, did you want to weigh in on that one? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm happy to weigh in. I believe strongly, as Lloyd had mentioned, that a fair wage is important. It has to happen now. Our young people are struggling to start their lives. So many people are struggling to pay for just everyday items and are going without. in Nova Scotia. We know it's the highest tax. We know it's the hardest to make ends meet. If we don't do something soon, we're going, we're going in the wrong direction. I think, yes, I think that it is absolutely a conversation we have to have with the other levels of government, but I also think that municipality potentially could lead by example. And so, I would be interested in having that conversation with the municipality around living wage within those municipal units. Start there as a great show of effort, and stepping up and saying we're going to walk the walk as much as talk the talk.
Great, thank you, Becky. So like I said, Mitch, did you want an opportunity to address that live?
Yes. Yeah, I believe, a living wage am I going here or what? I don't see okay. I believe everybody deserves a living wage. I mean, I have a daughter who's struggling and with 3 children that she has to work a couple of jobs in order to make it work. It's important that all residents in Nova Scotia and Canada, in that fact, have that living wage, that they don't have to work those many jobs, so they can be with their families and enjoy life a little. The unfortunate part of it, I look at what we have going on in the city of Dartmouth, and there's a lot of people that are doing without that probably could be working and have that living wage, that they don't have to sleep on the street, where you see many of the people in Halifax.
Great, thank you, Mitch. Much appreciated. George.
Yes, I agree that we should be paying people living wage, not poverty wage. Poverty wage in Canada today is about $12.60 per hour. And for a family of 4, it's about $26,000 a year. So you can use that kind of income to sustain a family of 4. And if you're paying people living wage, in Nova Scotia, the living wage here is about $18 per hour, which will leave you at about $32,000 a year for a family of 4. And that's a comfortable income for that people living wage. So we don't have to keep people on poverty wage. But the problem we have to also address is how is it going to affect our overall expenditures. So, but we should have a bridge together where to cap that living wage. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Right on time. Clinton.
Okay, so I have some issues actually with some of the responses given by some of my opponents and the question in general. So first of all, who is against the living wage? I'm not aware of anyone that would say I'm against the living wage. George mentioned a poverty wage. I don't know what the definition of a poverty wage is. Becky mentioned a fair wage. I don't know what the definition of a fair wage is. And Lloyd is talking about getting the federal government involved. Now, the last time I checked, wages are labor laws, which are governed by the province of Nova Scotia. And to answer your specific question, yeah, sure. As a Halifax City Councillor, I believe that Halifax City Council should discuss with the province issues related to living wage. But I'd like a clear definition of what a living wage is, and if in fact everyone is on the same page, because I've heard all kinds, like fair wage, poverty wage, federal government. I mean, none of this makes sense to me.
Great, thanks, Clinton. It is a complicated subject for sure. Ibrahim, did you have an opinion?
For living wage, I guess, yeah, I really, obviously that's something that we would have to obviously talk to as well, all the small business owners as well on that, as just to be able to afford, maybe raise the minimum wage a little bit more higher. And of course, that have to be able to be with the province, the federal as well, with their help as well, to at least keep all the businesses afloating, and as well to keep the economy and the people as well. That way it would be a fair living wage. That way they don't have to work, 3 jobs or 2 jobs. Some people working, you're right, over 14, 15 hours a day, which I know some people working 16 hours a day just to be able to pay their rent and all the utilities and so on that been keep going up. So that's something that discussion that we would have to bring quite a bit of people involved in it, just so we could at least to narrow everything down.
Great, thank you, Ibrahim. And lastly, Douglas, did you have an opinion on that question?
Not at this time.
Okay, great, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask one last question before we close out, and this will give you guys just a quick opportunity to outline really, and the question is, what are your priorities for the next 4 years? And how do you plan on achieving them? I know that's a lot in a minute, but it'll give you a chance to sort of summarize your perspective today. Thank you. So let's start from the top again. Clint. If you want to take a run at that.
Sorry, did you say me?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so over the next 4 years, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected by the residents, I believe we need to foster a stronger economy. We need to help create more jobs. We need to drive more exports. We need to drive more development, and we need to work with departments of Nova Scotia Business Inc., Halifax Partnership, the Port of Halifax. We need to work on improving CETA, getting more exports going. If we do all of those things and we create jobs, then the housing issue will also help take care of itself to some extent. I'd like to see more cruise ship traffic on the Dartmouth side of the harbor, not just the Halifax side. We need a city that's more wheelchair accessible. We need a city that's going to embrace Braille for those who have sight issues, so we can be more inclusive. And I want us to be the capital city of Atlantic Canada. And we need to increase our population more, and we need to drive more growth.
Great, Clinton. Thank you very much. George.
Yes, what I want to accomplish in the next 4 years is to make sure that my district is safe and comfortable for residents. I will make sure that their roads are well maintained, their parks are well maintained, their sidewalks, crosswalks, and trails are all well maintained. Make sure that the roads are safe for children and the elderly people by putting more traffic calming strategy for them, and make sure they have good crosswalks and a playground for little kids and the recreational facilities for adults as well. So these are the things that we take off my time in the next 4 years. And also, I plan to come to HRM if I'm elected to propose managing our deficit. We need to manage our deficit. Thank you.
Thank you, George, very much. Lloyd.
Yeah, thank you. My first priority, having gone around door to door and spoken to the constituents in District 3, will be to work on the issue of traffic calming, ensuring that the streets are safe within District 3 and all of HRM. Citizens throughout District 3 have mentioned on many occasions their concern about speed and making sure that their neighborhoods are safe. Other things I want to see done, Halifax is the hub of Atlantic Canada. We need to be able to compete on the international market. We need to be out there attracting businesses and supporting our local businesses that we have now to make it through this COVID-19. I want to make sure that we produce a sound budget with a plan, and a plan that involves everybody. It's diverse, and it meets the needs of affordable housing. It meets the needs of our universities and our students and everyone. I don't want anyone left behind. Many of the things that we can do will help with that, and I'm all about HRM being the hub of Atlantic Canada and on the international stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Lloyd. Appreciate it. Becky.
Thank you. Yes, I too, transportation certainly is on everyone's concern and radar within District 3. I would hazard a guess that it is actually throughout the entire municipality. Municipality has a framework that they use to qualify whether or not a street or road is in need of traffic calming. I think that needs to be revisited. It's taking far too long to address the very real and urgent safety needs of the transportation corridors that we have right now. The transportation corridors as well can be addressed not only through traffic calming, but creating other routes for traffic, particularly the Mount Hope and Caldwell Road connector coming to and from Eastern Passage. A lot of our residents are using the main corridor of Pleasant Street Main Road or Caldwell Road down through Portland Hills, which is contributing to congestion there. I also believe strongly in housing and homelessness, ending racism, being a loud voice for women on council. The economy and jobs is paramount as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. You got a lot in there. Thank you.
Yes.
Mitch.
Okay, my priorities are, I guess, are, we're living in the city of lakes, which is unique. Losing our lakes, rivers, ponds, streams in the city of lakes. I would move for immediate plans to preserve, clean, and protect our waterways and have the province and the federal government to help. I would ask for restrictions on lawn fertilizer and city staff to check for sewers because possible there could be human waste being released. Small business tax breaks, work with landlords on rental issues, seeking assistance from the province. Work with the province to afford to get affordable housing in HRM and to give land to developers as asked or building suppliers to help the cost of material. Travel solution, traffic solutions, crosswalks, speed limits. I guess that's the complaint for all of us. More traffic enforcement needed to protect the public, and I guess that's it.
Great, Mitch. Thanks very much. Douglas. And you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure what to say now, but I agree with some of the other candidates, and basically they said it all.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. And last but certainly not least, Ibrahim.
Yes. All right. Let me start. If I do get elected for the next 4 years, this is exactly what I will be fighting for. I'll be fighting for food security. I would like to see a lot of the greenhouses in our community where we could actually use all year round. We have solar panels that have at least security public side, especially in District 6 as well. One of my other thing is Dartmouth. Obviously, it seems like we did turn off the light on Dartmouth a long time ago, and I think we need to turn on the lights back on. We got downtown Dartmouth, day by day, we're losing more businesses from down there. I think we should have better walkways, on the waterfronts here, to attract more developments down there in our downtown Dartmouth, and try to have a little more traffic through Dartmouth, which I'm talking about in developments and like a lot of businesses. That's what I would.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So we are out of time. We are bang on 4 o'clock. So I'm pretty impressed with our time management skills across the whole group. So thank you all. And so we'll wrap it up here. First of all, I want to thank all the candidates who joined us today from the three districts, 3, 5, and 6 for this municipal election. I want to thank you for, first of all, running, and second of all, for taking the time out of your really busy days to spend an hour and a half with us and with some of your future potential constituents. A big thank you to our sponsor, Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, for the opportunity to promote the importance of voting and the opportunity to hear from candidates. So please keep an eye on our bulletin and our social media as we have and will continue to post candidate responses to questions. So on that note, again, thank you all for attending. Thank you, Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, and have a great week, everybody.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Chris.
Appreciate it. Be safe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.